Good morning and welcome to our webinar this morning. We're going to be talking about a one-stop shop for the TMS and also about how to create courses. And I am Jane Solis, and along with me is Sharon Finzel, and she'll be looking in on the chat if there is any. We are recording this session, but no data is being collected or stored. We'd ask that you please hold your questions till the Q&A session at the very end, and that you mute your microphones and turn off your webcams. So this is our one-stop shop for creating courses, and we are going to be talking about how we use a TMS to deliver training and also about how to create courses. And you can post a picture of yourself or with or without you in it and post it over to LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook that you're attending our Launch Q3. And it would be nice if you say something lovely about us. Then tag Learn on Demand Systems and we'll have some gift card winners during the event. So we're going to overview today the process, TMS process to deliver training, and then get really into creating a course. So first, training is, you need 4 pieces in place in order to create training. And one of those is content, another is users, another is delivery methods, and the last one is connecting those users over to a delivery method. Let's take a closer look at each of these. So content is the first piece that needs to be in place to have a delivery of your labs. And content is packaged together into courses. A course holds all the activities and resources that are used during the training. You can create courses on your own in the TMS using labs developed in Lab on Demand and also combine that with other activities. You may be purchasing content from a vendor like Logical Operations, Microsoft Official Curriculum, Veeam, CompTIA, or EC Council. Either way, you need to have courses to deliver training. A course contains activities like our Lab on Demand labs, which might be virtual machines. They could be cloud-based. They could be performance-based testing. It'll have things in it. Other activities are available like SCORM modules, which is content that you would prepare, wrap in SCORM, which allows a learning management system to read it, and that can be added as a course activity. We have different types of external links, LTI activities that are a secure access to a third-party site, and assessments that can be created and for you to be able to add to a course and evaluate learning. The next piece you have to have in place are the users that are added to the platform in order to be able to access training. 3 most common users we have are a basic user, who is your student usually, or a participant, and an instructor who is leading instructor-led training, and an operations manager who is doing things like scheduling the training. The next piece we want in place is that delivery method. And the course content is accessed through our method of delivery. And we have 2 types of delivery in the platform: instructor-led training and self-paced training. Instructor-led training is scheduled through classes. Classes are a date and a time where a group of users meet with an instructor who delivers that course content. Self-paced training is delivered through a course assignment or through a subscription assignment. A course assignment gives a user access to one course, normally for 6 months, and they can take and retake that course as many times as they want while the assignment is active. A subscription gives a user access to multiple courses, and they can then take and retake those courses for as long as that subscription is active. So that last piece is connection. And course content is delivered in a class or through self-paced training, and then it needs to be connected over to the users. Users are added to a class during enrollment. Once a class starts, enrolled students have access to lunch labs and other activities and course resources. Um, the other way to do this is through self-paced training. A course or a subscription is assigned to a user, and they have access to all the course activities and resources from the time the assignment is created until it expires. So, one more review of all that. How do these pieces work together to get labs into your students' hands? Um, for classes and enrollments, um, all of our training first needs to have that course in place. We can't live without that. And a class cannot be created without adding a course to it. So it holds all the content that's going to be delivered. And remember that a class and a course are defined differently in the training management system. A course holds the content being delivered, while a class is a specific time and place when the content is delivered by an instructor. So when you're scheduling a class, you'll be the course is selected, the class dates and sessions are put into place. Then user accounts are added to the system in several ways. You can do that individually, manually into the system. You can do it through an API. You can import a whole group of users up to 10,000 at a time into the TMS. And you can also do this with training keys. Then once the user accounts and the class are in place, you can connect your students into the class through enrollments. And that can be done manually or through training keys or the API. Course assignments, again, is a self-paced training, one course taken by one user. And again, the course has to be available first. You can add your users through training keys, inputting them into the TMS either one at a time or in an import or through an API. And a course assignment can then be created to connect that user to the course. And the course assignment can be created manually. They can be created through the API and with training keys as well. The last piece then is a subscription assignment. A subscription assignment gives one user access to multiple courses for self-paced training. The courses need to be in place again, but they have to be created within a subscription profile. So you'll add all of these courses that you want the student to have access to into the profile. And the subscription profile is essentially a template. It holds the courses. You set the length of time that any assignment to a user is allowed for that user, and it determines things like organization availability. And you're going to have your users added into the platform, of course. And you'll connect your subscription over to your user by creating a subscription assignment. And that gives them access to the course in the subscription profile for the time limit that was set in the profile. So let's get on to the exciting stuff of course, creating a course. And let me change my screen I'm sharing. It'll take just a moment. Oop, get that out of the way. Okie dokie. So the first thing we're going to do in creating a course is just to give you the most basic of basic courses. And after that, we'll go in and add activities. Then I'm going to create a course assignment from it and show you what editing a course is after it has been scheduled. And we'll be then looking over further settings. So a basic course is pretty much the bare minimum you need to create a course. And you might use this for scheduling if you're doing all your scheduling in the TMS and you need a course to schedule classes that don't have labs. You might want to use something like this so that you can block that time for an instructor and a classroom or and not double book things. So for creating a course, the first thing that needs to be in place is a title, a name of the course. And this name is transferred over when you create a class or a course assignment or a subscription. On the class, the name can be changed, but not on the course assignment or the subscription. And students do have access to the course profile from their assignments, so it can be seen. So keep that in mind. So the course name has to be in place. An organization has to be set up. This organization is who manages or who has access to manage that course. If it is put at this career rocket level, that's the parent org. A person who only has management over courses in career rocket demos would not be able to they'd be able to see perhaps, but not be able to edit or change the course. Your program always has to be training. Duration, I'll just mention here, is a legacy kind of billing item that we used. It is not something that will determine billing in most cases anymore. Training days is something that goes along with a class. So when you are creating a class and that add multiple sessions opens up, it's going to determine how many sessions are going to be added based on the training days on the course. So if this course added here was 3 days, it would default to 3 days, and that can be changed on the class as well. A content provider must be added, and maybe someday in the future this will go away, but it allows you at this point in time to actually create content providers to categorize your courses in different ways so that you can find them and pull them up. A lot of you may only have one option, which would be your own organization name, but you can create others. So that is a required field. Now I'm going to jump down over here, and these don't show as required field, the available instructor-led and available self-paced, but if I could actually get it to it. But what they do is determine access. So there's a couple of things that determine access, and having available instructor-led checked will allow you to use that course to schedule in a class. So that class, that course chooser that comes up at the top when you're choosing a course to create a class, if you don't have this checked, it's not going to actually ever show this course as an option. The same thing is true for available self-paced, that if you do not have that course checked to be available self-paced, you wouldn't be able to create a course assignment off of it. Now, if I uncheck both of these, we get a different kind of thing going on. So if you're using a course catalog or a subscription, you can uncheck both of those items, and it will give you this little coming soon banner. Well, not really a banner, little square in the corner of your courses in the course catalog and the subscription. So that allows you to continue working on the course, but it also gives people access to see what you already have there without being able to schedule it or take it. I'm going to go back here and add both of these, and I'm going to save because that is the most that you need to have in place to actually create the course. But you'll see here that this course must be added to a publishing group to be available for use. And if you look up here, I have a Find Classes link and a Find Course Assignments link, but I don't have a Create Classes link or a Create Course Assignments link. So it's available for both of these, but it isn't available to be to actually be published or available to use until the publishing group is in place. So how do I do that part? We're going to edit and go back to availability. And on the availability tab is where you can add your publishing groups. And a lot of you are going, why do I have to have a publishing group? What does a publishing group do? It manages the availability of courses to organizations. So for the most part, a lot of you are just going to be creating courses for yourself and for your own organization. And you're just going to have one option there with your organization name. So you're just going to add it and pop it in and click OK, and you'll have finished that. We do have groups and organizations that are publishing out content to sell to other organizations, and this is a way for them to group courses together and make those available to specific organizations. So that's what publishing groups do, is determine who can have access to a course in the end. Let's go in and look at activities and how they are added onto a course. So in activities, we have a bunch of links right here for me to add different types of activities. I'm going to add a section, and sections can be used to just give your activities a little bit of structure so it's not one big overwhelming list. And you can use them any way you want. I'm just going to call this a section header because I'm being generic. Now you'll notice that once I have this section added, I now have links inside the section and outside the section. So in order for the section to show the header, you must add an activity into it, at least one. And you can add them either inside or outside, but right now we're going to add one inside the section header. And I'm going to start with a SCORM module. And SCORM modules are something that you can create inside the system. And this again is your own content that you created. It can be a video, it can be some kind of computer-based learning, interactive stuff that you that the student reads and moves through or has to change. But anyway, any kind of content that you're putting together there, it has to be wrapped in SCORM in order for a learning management system to be able to read it. So you'll come in, it automatically makes you choose a file or suggest it strongly. I'm going to X out of that. And once you actually have some file uploaded, it will put in the file name and it'll import a name as well. You can rename it here. Again, organizations are who manages this SCORM module profile and has access to edit it or change it. We have different evaluation methods available. You can just have it on whether they complete or do not complete it. There can be you can determine it by the last, I'm going with SCO result, or you can say that they must complete all of them or pass all of them in order for them to get a pass on that. You can change the width and the height, and there's some other options that you can put in place. So once I've uploaded that and added it, I have the ability to add it into my course. And once I've added it in, you need to, or you can, add in the time that it takes for that SCORM to be viewed. And I can say like 35 minutes. This adds into the course duration settings. Availability also is predetermined to be everyone, but you can put things in activities that are instructors only. But by default, we assume you probably want everybody to see that. Some other settings are required for course completion. And what that does is if I am a student, and we're going to impersonate my little Chad student here and refresh the page. And you can see here that he has this little progress bar, and one of 4 required activities is completed. So if it is a required for course completion activity, it gets marked into when that activity is complete, whatever it is, it gets added into this progress bar. And you can see that there are 2 here that are not required, but there are 4 down here at the bottom that are, and that's why he has completed one of 4 required activities. So that adds in into that progress bar. Progress isn't shown while a lab is in place or incomplete. It only shows when it is completed. By default, we don't add available instructor led when you're adding SCORM. The idea is that you probably have an instructor in place who's going to be explaining things and they don't need a video, but you can make the videos available instructor-led as well. And by default, Scorb is going to be added as self-paced. You'll notice that once I clicked on that available instructor-led, I suddenly had an assigned to students manually button or checkbox available to me. And what that does is when you, by default, we don't check it. And because we don't check it, if it is unchecked, all of the activities in a class are then shown to the end user. But if you start to do the assign to students manually, and this is per activity on the course, it gets set up so that on the course, the instructor or an administrator can come in and choose who gets to see that activity. So if I'm looking at this, two of the activities in my course are set up to manually assign to the students. And I'm in here as a manager right now. So when I go to view activity access, if to begin with, there'll be nobody assigned, it'll be empty, but I can edit student access and I can remove or add more students here. And as you can see, I have Chad, my buddy, is getting the Windows 10 lab here. So if I save and go back out, we can see that there is a video activity, a very exciting one apparently with all of the exclamation points there. And we can view activity access. And the only person who isn't in this one is Chad. And again, you could edit and add or remove. So if I go back to Chad, and I have to impersonate him again. And I come back to his enrollment. Again, he can see that Windows 10 lab, but he does not have a video, exciting or boring, anywhere to be seen on his activities. He absolutely does not see it as an option out there for him. So when you're doing assign students manually, if the instructor can always see the activities and students cannot see them until they are actually assigned to them. So let's look at another thing. Let's add a lab here. And this is from our Lab on Demand. Yeah, you have to stop impersonating Chad or you'll never be able to add a lab. And these are from our Lab on Demand platform. They do have a lot of similar items that can be chosen. The duration is automatically pulled over from Lab on Demand. It is available to everyone by default. We have the same first three, course completion, instructor-led, self-paced. And then there's a new one down here, and we also have assigned to students manually available. But our new option is to allow retakes. And allowing retakes is enabled by default because most labs, people want to be able to take and retake them as many times as their class access allows or course assignment allows. The reason you might uncheck that is if you have created an exam lab and you don't want people to be able to retake it. They take it once, and once it's completed, they cannot go back and retake that exam. The next three, add video, add document, add external link, are all external links. And they're exactly the same with one exception, and that is the icon that shows here. So for a video, you get this icon. For a document, you get a little document icon. And for an external link, you get two chains that are linked, two links that are in a chain that are connected. So I'm going to use the video one, and we're going to add a little YouTube video in here. And I'm paste that in, and we're just, it probably has a space at the end, and it doesn't like that. And we're just going to call it YouTube video. And here again, you can input your time that it takes. You can decide whether or not it's required for course completion. And we have the only new option we have here is open in a new window. And I've found with YouTube videos in particular, that you really have to check on the open a new window or they won't open at all. So heads up on that one. But you can choose not to have it open in a new window. And if you do that, it'll open within the screen you're in or on a new tab. I can't remember. Um, Adding an assessment. So an assessment is in fact something that you can create in the TMS. And when you go in and create them, you get the design option. Assessments have a couple of options. You can have multiple choice questions, and they either have multiple answers or only one correct answer. You can see the correct answers because they're bold here. You can also input like reasons why that and answer. Can't remember. Let's add a question. And answer explanation why that question was correct or reasoning to what the answer was. And you can also add info through a URL. And once you put that URL in, they get this little information button, and that opens up to a different website where they can take a look at more information and research the topic further. So once you add an assessment, people can actually go through their responses, and everything that they have answered is checked or input over here. Anything that the correct answers are bold and underlined in green. The incorrect answers that you've used are underlined in red. So they can very easily see, and then they can read whatever information and also open websites based on that. So assessments, let's add one. We're going to hit add assessment. We'll find one. I think I have that color assessment. And you'll notice here that my two new items are, well, not new. We had allow retakes already and allow review. So you can choose whether or not they can take the assessment multiple times and whether or not they can review it. And let's see if I had that set up. Oh, that was just, they can see their score on the activity, the assessment activity, and they'll have buttons to allow review or to and to allow retake or to retake it if you have those options enabled. The next thing I'm going to add is an LTI resource. LTI is a secure link out to a third-party website, and so it allows you to have them have activities that are that aren't actually here in our website, like the assessments and score. And we don't have anything new on here. And I have not added that into the same section as all of the items above. So here, my one section is section 1. My new activity is section 2. And I just want to show you one thing that as I save this, if you have one section header and then you add things outside of it, it doesn't look like they are in a different section. So you may want to do something like add another section header in our activities. And I'll just call this additional resources. And if I save this right now, it won't show because I don't have any activities in it. And I want to move this LTI activity down in here. There are a few ways that you can move things around. For instance, if I wanted to switch places with the LTI activity, I could just put a 2 in and hit enter, and they switch places. We have arrows over here where you can move things up and down. And then I have this other little funky little icon that looks like a bulleted list. When I click on that, I suddenly get a bunch of options of where I can move things. So you can use this to move things, anything, but particularly if you want to move something in or out of a section, you have to use the little move here icon. So I'm going to move it right here into additional resources. And that then allows me to see those, see this header and see that activity under it. We have a very new activity that's been added, and these are Add Microsoft Learn activities. These are documents that Microsoft has made available, and you can add those documents to any courses that you want. Let's go ahead and save and look at my activities now. So you can add structure by using those headers. And those are all the different types of activities we were going to take a look at and things we can do with it. Okay, so I mentioned that editing a course and having it in place will eventually restrict the access that you have in when you go back to edit a course. So once I actually go out here and do something like create a course assignment with this course, and I choose a happy student like Erin, who's at the top of the list, and I save it, I'm going to go back to that course. And when I edit, I suddenly don't have as much information that I can work with as I did a minute ago. And we've put this in place for billing because we've had some because of the way our billing is set up. If you added more activities or labs at a higher RAM, we wouldn't actually be able to always capture that in billing. So after a course has been scheduled, um, we lock it down so that not all changes can be made anymore. So what do I do if I wanted to add another activity to my course and use that to schedule or change upcoming classes to have them scheduled? I would come down and I would use the Save As button. And what that's going to do is clone my course. And it'll come up and always put the copy in there. You can rename it, or we're just going to save it like this. And now I'm open to my copy of my course. And at this point, you may want to add things like short names, or I'm going to put V2 up here in the title and put a version number. So versioning can become important at this point for you to be able to distinguish what is going on between your original course and the courses that you've updated. And then you can go back in and any upcoming class, or you can change that course out. If it's already scheduled and you need to change it or it's in place, you would need to contact our support for assistance with that. So the description that's here is a very short area to put in information, and it is plain text. You can also use the HTML description where you can add in source code and code it all to be very pretty, add images, add links, all that kind of thing. And they have some basic formatting that's available as well. These can be used independently of each other or together. If you use them together, the description from here will show on top and the formatted HTML description would show underneath it. You can add in keywords for searches, and that will be a search from Find Courses. You can add in an image for the profile. So when I go back here, all of these blue and green and red items on the doesn't help to hover over them, does it? Are course images that we've added in, and basically you will set up a blob or someplace where you're storing that, and then you can copy the URL in here and it will show on your course. Okay, let's skip down to stuff we haven't covered yet. Discussions are available to be added to a course. You would create your own discussion, and after you have gone in and created it, you can add multiple topics within the discussion. You can add people as moderators to that discussion, and you can set that discussion up for one or multiple courses. And then any student taking that as self-paced training or in a class can participate in that discussion time with and add questions and answer questions and chat back and forth. Archiving is another way to block access to scheduling a course. I can archive something immediately, and once I save, it is archived. I can also set an auto archive date. So maybe I know that in January we are going to have a different course, and I can just predate it so that I don't have to think about it later and get it out of circulation on that date. Archiving a course only keeps it from being chosen to be scheduled for anything after it is archived. So if I already had a class that was scheduled in the future using this course, let's say I had it scheduled in March and it's using this course, it is not going to interfere with that at all. Anybody who already has labs available to them from like post-class lab access or through a course assignment, they still have access to all that unless somebody disables the lab. But archiving the course is not going to block them from having the access that is set for them already. So it doesn't interfere with any of that. Showing on course catalog is if you have a catalog that you're displaying out to users and students, you can enable it here. Featured is another little block that you can put on here. If I hit the Now button, and it shows on your course catalog, it shows on your subscriptions, and anything that is featured will move to the top of the display, and after the unfeatured things will show alphabetically following all of those. And you can set your expiration date for how long you want to show it as a featured item. Adding simple course feedback allows you to have a little, yes, I liked it, no, I didn't like it, and a little bit of text for any student taking the class to submit. And there is a course feedback search on the courses tile. We're going to skip achievements to outside organizations because you would have to be publishing classes or courses to outside organizations and be using achievements. And then you can actually share the achievements to those outside organizations. I guess I didn't skip it. Allowing activity disablement is kind of a newer fun feature. What it does is when I have it enabled, my instructor can then, let's find where I was here. Yeah, this will work. My instructor can then disable activities in the class. And you'll see I have a disable all activities and an enabled checkbox over here as well. So if I disable all the activities, they will be unenabled on the activity itself. And if I can toggle that back and forth and it shows as enabled. I can also check or uncheck those each individual activity. So once this is done, within about 30 seconds, it updates for our student. And I think I wanted to use Chad. No, well, maybe it's student. And let's go back and impersonate Alex and go to his class enrollment and refresh. And now you can see that his activities, he can still see them, unlike when you are manually assigning access. He can still see these, but he can see that it's disabled by the instructor, and his launch button is not there either. So the instructor can then re-enable them. He might want to do this in order to prevent people from working ahead or not paying attention during a demonstration, and then enable it for them. It'll refresh in about 30 seconds for them, and they can then take that activity or launch the activity. This next check mark also goes with the activities, and this is just in case, this goes with the disablement, just in case your instructor forgets to re-enable an activity and the class is over. You can set this to auto enable any of the activities when the class ends so that your students still have access to things. So we talked about HTML descriptions, activities, and availability. We're just going to go quickly over the rest of these. You can add a prerequisite, the rest of these tabs, to the course, and adding a prerequisite means that they have to actually complete, or you can set what they must do before they can be enrolled or maybe launch activities for the current course. So I can choose that the requirement that they have to be is enrolled into my prerequisite course, and then they can actually, it becomes fulfilling their prerequisite. They have to have started it, they have to have completed it, or they have to have been given credit for it. And then you can choose what's blocking, whether they're enrolled into this current course in a class, or if they just don't get launch buttons until this requirement is met. Tags are used as a way to find courses in your courses as well, but they're also used to create filters in subscriptions and in course catalogs. So each one of these headings here is a course tag group. And when you have a course tag group set up, it comes across as this gray area here, this availability. And then anything that is underneath that course tag group is something that you can filter for by the courses. So these are course tags that are in place under those headings. And then you can set which filters are appropriate for my course to be filtered by. So you'll set up which course tags are applied to this course by checking the boxes. Completion certificates, you can create a, let's see where I was, a course completion certificate. You can add a template in, and you'll have to create it on the outside, and then you'll upload that to your upload a file for your certificate, and you can take a preview of it. I just have a funky little one in here. Oh dear. We'll just throw in some fake text and preview, and then downloaded it. And then once you have this, as an administrator, my manager can get that in a Word document or as a PDF. My instructor would also have these choices, so they might be able to edit the name if it wasn't showing up correctly in the user profile. Students only have the ability to add a PDF and download that and print it. So then they get the information that is pulled from the course, from the class, and I think it's all pulled from the course. I'll stop with the class, and then from their user profile as well. Let's go back. And so you can then add a certificate template up here into your course. Anytime it's added in the course, any class or course assignment is going to receive that as the certificate that is allowed for it. A course assignment, when a user completes their course assignment, they can print their own certificate and it only shows to them as PDF. On the class itself, you can change the certificate or add multiple certificates to have a choice of which kind of certificate the person gets. For convenience, we've added the ability to add a subscription profile directly on the course so that you don't have to go over to the subscription profile after you've created a course to add it. So you can add those into subscriptions. Presenters are a way to add information about a person who's doing presenting on a class or a course assignment. In order to make a person a presenter, they have to check this Has Bio box, and then immediately after that, a tab is added for the bio, and they can put in the company and a title and information about themselves. And once that is in there, you will be able to add them as a presenter, and they'll show up on any class and course assignment. Advanced. Let's take a quick look at advanced. The calendar color here, if you're on your organization profile, you have a calendar link, and that shows all of your courses or classes that are set up to run. And you can choose a different color other than blue, which is the default for everything, if you would like. The external ID is an ID that is basically you have for your own internal use, and you add it here to be able to track it. Surveys can be added here or at the organization level. Anything added directly on a course will transfer down to a class and it can be changed there. Self-enrollment and self-paced self-assignment is a completely different conversation, but you can allow a class or a course assignment to be self-assigned by students if they have a self-assignment role as well. Allowing recordings is referring to virtual classes and recordings that are made on those and how long those recordings are accessible. Allowing supplemental recording access, if this is enabled, then when on the recording page, I don't think I have that, you can add other users. You can specifically add a particular user, or you could add users by role, and they can then view that recording and access it on their transcript. You can set a course assignment to only be able to open with a valid subscription. And last but not least is allowing anonymous access to the course details page, which um, means that I can supply this, if I have it checked, I can supply this link to somebody and they don't have to log in to see the course page. Wow. And I think I made it within reasonable time too. Okay, I'm excited. I am going to go back to my slideshow and if I can remember how to do that. And just a moment. And we have some resources available for you. You can learn more about the topic either from the help link on any TMS page and going to, which opens the Help Center, and you go to the Administrator tab and you can look at a courses category, or you can go to lods.one/one-stop-shop to get directly there. We would love it if you will go into your class enrollment and share your feedback. There's a link to a survey in there, and you can fill that out. That would be a great help to us. And if you have a feature request, or you can go to lods.one/feedback and put in a request. And once again, don't forget to post a picture on social media and tag Learn on Demand Systems.